Syria's President Ahmad al-Sharaa says protecting the rights of the Druze minority is his priority. He's accused Israel of trying to sow divisions within Syria. His government forces have begun withdrawing heavy equipment from the southern city of Suwayda after trying to break up fighting between Druze factions and Bedouin tribes. Dozens of military vehicles were seen leaving the city overnight. It's part of a ceasefire agreement with Druze religious leaders. At least 169 people were killed in violence in southern Syria this week.
إن الكيان الإسرائيلي الذي عودنا دائما.
The Israeli entity, which has consistently targeted our stability and sown discord since the fall of the former regime, now seeks once again to turn our sacred land into a theater of endless chaos, aiming to fragment our unity and weaken our ability to rebuild. I especially address our Druze brethren, who are an integral part of this nation's fabric. Syria will never be a place for division, fragmentation, or sectarian strife. We affirm that protecting your rights and freedoms is among our top priorities. We reject any attempt, foreign or domestic, to sow division within our ranks.
So Israeli ground forces have also been moving deeper into the Syrian-occupied Golan Heights, effectively expanding Israel's illegal occupation. Since the fall of President Bashar al Assad last year, Israeli forces have seized what had been a demilitarized buffer zone. The UN says the move violates the 1974 disengagement agreement between Israel and Syria. We'll now speak to Vicenzino, who's a global strategy advisor, joining us from London. Thanks for your time with us on Al Jazeera. First, let me just ask you about this deal that was reportedly struck. So, President Ahmad al-Sharaa is saying that the state is withdrawing from the region of southern Syria, as Suwayda. What do you read into that? And what does it tell you about what may happen next?
Reality of the situation, that he's not in a position militarily to basically maintain the troops there in light of Israeli threats to keep bombing if he does not remove his troops. So I think his main challenges are maintaining order internally at home and centralizing power, which has been the serious and also is incorporating minorities into a new Syria. And those have been his challenges since December 7th of 2024, when the Assad government fell. So I think realistically speaking is that he realizes he's limited in what he can do. So on the one hand, he risks losing credibility at home, domestically, particularly with his political base. But on the other hand, he cannot keep a presence there if there's going to threat of continued bombing. Plus, on the other side, he has backing, the U.S. government, the Trump administration. When he visited Saudi, he lifted a large part of the sanctions, and he wants to maintain a good relationship with the American government and try to ask the American government for help in trying to normalize. Remember, we're dealing in an environment whereby in recent months, you've had improving relationships with the West, the United States, and you also had a dialogue going on between Israel and Syria in an attempt to normalize relations over time. So obviously, events of recent days complicates that, but it doesn't mean that process it cannot return. At least for the immediate term, it may be difficult, but the idea is that in a longer term, you have to go back and trying to normalize and stabilize relations, not just between Israel and Syria, but the broader region.
And for the Israelis, they're probably keeping a very close eye on this, right? I mean, Israel claims that it had struck that part of Syria because it's acting to protect the Druze minority. But what does its involvement signal to you about its real intentions and what it plans to do?
It's a combination of factors. First of all, you've had, regionally speaking, Netanyahu has been emboldened in the regions, particularly in the events after October 7th of 2023. You've had the downgrading of Hezbollah, the downfall of the Assad regime, the fallout of the recent 12-day war between Iran and Syria. Regionally, he's in a stronger position, and he wants to make sure that he guarantees the long-term stability and the primacy of Israeli presence throughout the region. And doing so, particularly on its immediate border, it wants to solidify and potentially extend that buffer zone that happened after December 7th of 2024, with the fall of the Assad regime. And on the other hand, there's domestic issues. He wants to look also strong at home. In recent days, you've had two ultra-Orthodox parties pull out of his governing coalition. He has technically a one-seat majority in the Israeli parliament. He has the Druze minority. Yes, it was mentioned that it's just 2% of the population, but you also have Druze that are part of the Israeli military going back decades. And in addition, he has legal problems at home, which are ongoing, and even to the point where the American ambassador Huckabee showed up in the legal proceedings in recent days to show support. And then he also has his legacy. He wants to extend that legacy, that show of strength, not just at home, but for the long-term stability. This is all from the viewpoint, I think, of Netanyahu and the leadership in Israel today.
Right. And Netanyahu has said in the past that he wants to change the face of the Middle East. I mean, is this what's going on here? Is this part of his plan? And what will Israel's involvement in Syria be going forward? Is it going to be a more sort of prolonged military involvement, or is it trying to destabilize the country?
Going back to your first question, whether one likes him or not, the reality is that he has changed the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East based upon what I previously said. Hezbollah, the downgrading of Hezbollah, downfall of the Assad regime, which they played a key role, not solely responsible, but played a key role in the recent 12-day war. And in terms of Israel and Syria, I think for the most part, a lot of it depends on what the next moves of al-Sharaa is within Syria. So again, he has to balance between his domestic political base, maintaining order in the country, and also trying to bridge gaps with the minorities in the country. Remember, in March of 2025, there was serious massacres that took place against members of the Alawite community. Many of them accused them of being former regime loyalists who were trying to maintain their position, and as a result, the government. But there were massacres that took place that are still being investigated. April of 2023, you had a flare-up, but also with Druze communities. This is the latest flare-up. He's in a very difficult situation, and he has to balance between various forces, domestically and also with support from the outside. Economically, politically, diplomatically, they're not in a strong situation. Hence that external support, whether it's from Qatar, Saudi, the U.S., lifting of further sanctions. These are all key to his future. These are all factors he has to take into consideration as he's moving forward.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Marco Vicenzino, you're a global strategy advisor, joining us from London this hour. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.